Hello everyone, and welcome to this 11th day of June. Now since this is a Thursday, that means it's product tasting day. And wow, do I have something interesting to share with you all today. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping is in order. First, if you're joining me for the first time, you may be wondering what the heck Gi-Une really is, and or if it's just some sort of typo. Well, let me first thank you for finding me and for joining in today. And secondly, let me reassure you, Gi-Une is spelt the way it's spelt and it sounds the way it sounds with purpose. Gi-Une is my 30-day salute to gin during the month of June, and as such, I've taken the liberty of changing the name of the month. So there you go, Gi-Une, G-I-U-N-E. Say it with me, Gi-Une. Okay, so the next piece of housekeeping involves my viewers and followers. While I do sincerely thank you all for finding me and for tuning in and for following, because of the nature of Gi-Une and really the nature of what Psalm for All does, i.e. it involves alcohol products, you need to be the age of majority to follow along. What that really means is if you're not old enough to purchase and consume alcohol products where you live, then you really shouldn't be following me. For example, here in Ontario, where I'm based, the age of majority is 19 to be able to buy and purchase and consume alcohol products. So you'd need to be 19 if you live in Ontario. You get the drift. If you are not yet of the age of majority, again, I appreciate your interest. But for now, it's time to say goodbye. And I hope you do find me again in a few years when you've reached that age of majority. Okay, for everybody else, let's begin with a journey to France. I've had the incredible privilege of being in France several times. And one of my first trips, I was initially surprised to learn that the French make gin. Actually, les Français rank among the top 10 gin consuming nations in the world and have a very thriving local domestic gin market. Now, we all know that the French are world famous for their wine production, but it might surprise you to know that they have a very deep history with regards to gin. Or more accurately, Genever. And for those of you that saw my first welcome video and my brief history on gin, you may recall that Genever is kind of how it all started, being a Dutch word for juniper. So if you've missed that, I invite you to visit my YouTube channels, my Facebook channel, or Facebook page rather, where you can find all those videos that you may have missed. Okay, so back to gin in France. This gin or Genever dates back hundreds of years to about 1775, when King Louis XVI first provided a royal license for the production of gin at the Citadel of Dunkirk. The distillery was set up with copper pot stills, was done with a lot of vigor and a lot of promise, and the spirit that came out of there was very good. It proved so popular, in fact, that it became the official royal distillery in France and was even being smuggled into England into the 18th and 19th centuries in response to their gin craze. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. The product, French gin, dates back very far and was apparently very good. So why are you hearing it for the first time from me, or why doesn't the world know more about French gin? Well, that may be partly to do with the fact that French gin for many years stayed true to that original recipe and that original form of gin. Again, more like Genever than actual modern day gin. That style fell out of favor in place of how gin evolved with natural grain spirits. So using grain products as a natural base for which to produce gin rather than wine must or grape must, which was being done originally. That style kind of became boring. My guess is that people just found the flavor kind of flat. It became very industrialized, being produced on a mass level, and just the people didn't drive to it. That style fell out of favor. That, though, has changed over the last 15 years as there's been a resurgence in artisanal craft gin distilleries in France and in an interest in local domestic French gin. The profiles, well, French gin still kind of play by their own rules. They don't exactly mirror what we're going to commonly know as gin and the botanicals and such. In some of the nations that produce it, such as England and maybe Ireland, the U.S., Canada, however. But it's still a very, very good product and often wins national awards and international awards. So we shouldn't overlook it. Now, depending where you live, availability of French gin can be a challenge. Here in Ontario, I'm largely limited to what our Liquor Control Board of Ontario, or LCBO, what they stock or what they choose to bring in. And there's other rules as to why or why not a product is here, but overall, it doesn't change the fact that I'm relying on what the LCBO has. And let's be honest, COVID-19 really hasn't helped the stock of any products at the LCBO and at other liquor stores throughout Canada, I'm sure the world. So that being said, I was able to find something very different, and when I saw it, I thought it would be perfect for Gi-Une. And I'm happy to share this with you today. This is Sorgin gin, or Sorgin gin, and it's a wine-based gin. Told you it was going to be a little different today, didn't I? Now, the word Sorgin means sorceress in the Basque region of France, and this is the brainchild and the baby of noted French winemaker François Lurton. Now, he's behind Sorgin. The Lurton family also has very deep winemaking roots in France, and they're widely credited with getting the Entre-deux-Mers region of Bordeaux known and recognized within France. And for those of you that are into wine, you may know that Entre-deux-Mers is is the only white wine producing region in the Bordeaux area. So Sauvignon Blanc, Semillon, the two grapes that are grown there. And with that in mind, it shouldn't be a big surprise then to learn that François Lurton and Sorgin use Sauvignon Blanc grapes as the base neutral spirit for their Sorgin gin. Okay, so all this is great information, and I'm sure you're enthralled and you're all taking notes and you're being very studious about it all. But the question you're probably asking is, Paul, what's it smell and taste like? Great question. Time to find out. First off, though, before we dive in here, quite a nice looking bottle. I mean, very good presentation. I like the hint of green on the bottle. When you get down here, I'm not sure how well that displays. The product, though, is in fact, what we call water white or very clear. On the nose, it's very different. It's got a medium plus intensity. And off the hop, I get that grapey aroma. I get grapefruit, lemon, that lemon citrus. There's a pininess, so that's from the juniper. If I dig a bit deeper, I pick up faint notes of that telltale Sauvignon Blanc, so that gooseberry aroma we call in the sommelier world. We call, it smells a bit like cat pee, not as pungent and not as bad, but that same kind of pungent aroma but pleasant in this case. There's also some vegetal and some floral notes going on. So, lots going on in the nose. Time to taste. On the palate, pretty silky smooth. And there's almost an initial perfumey type of note to it. Floral, juniper, grass, and some herbaceousness, some herbs come through. They jump out. And then there's citrus and kind of wine notes rounding out the back end. Not a crazy long finish. I'd say just long enough. It's pleasant. It lasts. It doesn't die off right away. And it's that juniper, it's that grapefruit, and those floral tones that kind of stay with you for a little bit. Got to be honest, over the last few years, I've tasted a lot of gin in Canada, in the US, and parts of Europe that I've traveled to. This may be one of the more funky or the most funky gins that I've had. But don't get me wrong, that's not a bad thing. It's actually quite the opposite. But man, it's different. And that's kind of what I mean by funky. It's very different. I wouldn't suggest this for the first time or novice gin drinker. It's not a representation of what gin we think of here in North America is. So if you had this and it's kind of funky, you may get turned off of it and say, geez, I don't like gin. So, this is more for the aficionados or for those who are looking for something a little different in their gin. Very interesting though, I have to say, very interesting. Really look forward to what I'm going to come up with for my cocktail hour, which is going to be this Friday, 4 p.m. on Facebook Live. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so some details about the bottle. First off, 700 milliliters. So this is not 750. Don't be surprised if you do find it in your liquor store and you see 700 milliliters. That's what this is. 43.5% alcohol by volume. So not a booze bomb, but this is not a lightweight either. Available, as I said, at the LCBO, stock number 12571, and retails for $46.25. For any of my Quebec friends and family that may be watching and wondering if it's available at the SAQ or SAQ, you are in luck. Stock number 135-54045, and it retails for $48 there. Definitely unique. No doubt would be a great conversation starter at your next social gathering, if and when, well, not really if, but when we are able to do so, hopefully in the very near future, and do so in a very safe manner. But definitely something different if you're looking to have a garden party or some type of event and you want to get people talking and inquiring. Yeah, actually lingering a little bit in that floral. I like this. Okay, so there you go. A taste of the gin for all of you during this second week of June. Don't forget, tomorrow, Friday, June 12th, I'll be conducting a live cocktail happy hour on my Facebook page. That's Somm for All on Facebook. I'll be making cocktails using this Sorgin gin. Got to come up with some of those, but I'll be making some cocktails live for you using Sorgin gin and also using the Spanish Bottega 01 orange infused, Valencia orange infused gin from Spain that I tasted earlier in the week on Tuesday. I'll also be answering all your gin-related questions that you sent me last week and this week. So if you haven't done so already, don't forget, send those through to me. You can do that through any of the platforms I have, through Twitter, through YouTube, through Facebook, through Instagram, or you can visit my website to get my contact page info, inquiries@sommforall.com. So tons of ways to get those questions to me. Keep following and liking Somm for All on all those platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Also, feel free to share any of the posts and the videos that I have with family and friends. The more the merrier. We need more people drinking gin. Most of all, thank you for joining me here today and for your continued support and interest in Gi-Une and in Somm for All. I really do appreciate you all. I'm going to see you all tomorrow. See what I did there? See you all tomorrow. Facebook Live, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, be safe and be well, everyone. Thank you. Cheers from Somm for All. Now the question is, did that work?